Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Lap Chats. Today, I'm joined by a very up-and-coming star of the sport. His name is Markus Chandler, and he races for Pembroke School. How you doing, Markus? Welcome to the show.
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, mate. Living the dream. So, to begin, mate, how about you just tell me a bit about yourself, where you came from, what your origins are, and a bit about your cycling as well.
Yeah, so I started out with mountain biking and started my first race was 4 years ago as of like 2 or 3 days ago. So that popped up on the Facebook feed, which was kind of cool. So yeah, kind of started out with mountain bike racing and then I think a year after that got into the SASI TID program, which is where you do testing at school and then they select you if you like present the abilities they're kind of looking for. So I got into that through cycling. So I did track, I think, for 2 years. And then during that time, I kind of also caught wind of the pedal pre program at my school, as a few of my friends were doing that. So got into that and kind of really struggled for my first year of pedal pre, I think, just like because it was such a new thing to me, with so much traffic, like, and just completely different to like mountain biking and cycling, where it's kind of a lot less congestion. Um, yeah, I struggled for my first year of pedal pre, and then kind of one of the races, I think I was over in Busselton, WA, which is a really technical, tight course. I just kind of had one of those sessions where it just something just clicked,
Yeah.
and then found some speed, and then kind of got fastest lap in my category for the first time. So I went from slowest rider to the team to getting fastest lap, and then kind of since then has been just smashing everybody, kind of.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, mate. Like, we always just saw you hitting on the track when I was back in the focus days. And I'm like, who is this kid? Why is he going so bloody fast? And then touching bases on the last race. Like, I think there's a couple of videos around of you. You must have thought it was like a mountain bike start where you start in the next 15 seconds and pew, he's gone. So you attacked everyone off the line and set the fastest lap ever in the schools category. So what was that race like, mate? And what was that start like?
So I was talking to some other guys in the start, and everybody was complaining about like mega wheel spin. So the track was quite wet to start with, and I was on the outside because I was a bit further back. I kind of had a little bit of a downslope to start on, so I was sitting there like holding the brakes on at the start, and then once I released the brakes, I kind of got a bit of momentum rolling forward, and then so I think I was just managed to get some grip, and then was just like, well, kind of got the momentum, so I just went for it and kind of swung around all the like top teams, and yeah, going to that first corner was a bit sketchy because like nobody had any idea how the grip levels would be. So that was fun. But no, the rest of the ride was really like really good. Kind of just had tons of fun and was able to set that flying lap.
The next race, the Bend 6-hour race. This is the first ever time this track is being used in a race scenario. What are your initial thoughts on it, mate? So it is 3.41 kilometers long, and it is just unlike anything we've ever seen. So what are your thoughts on it, mate? Your initial thoughts?
I reckon it's going to be a track for those who have got really good power, like long uphill straights, kind of like tight hairpins into big again uphill. So anybody who's got power and kind of big gears for that big straight is going to really come on top for this race.
Yeah, and it's we've had those Bend days out, and we were lucky enough to get out there last November to test it out, and it's going to be fast, man. It's going to be so fast. Like, we're coming into corners at around almost 64k an hour, and it's just ridiculous. So there's going to be a lot of teams out on the track, but it's just going to be an interesting dynamic. So how long do you think that front straight is, Markus? How long do you think it is?
I reckon it's about a K, start
It's
to finish.
about a kilometer, touch over a kilometer. And the thing about it is it's essentially all uphill. So you've got this about 20, like 16-meter wide track, all uphill. Oh, you're going to be fighting some demons if you're out there for more than an hour. You're going to be like in the zone. And I think Kyle in the last lap chat spoke about how Mount Gambier was a track you couldn't hide from. I think this is another one where if you're not fit, you're not going to cut the mustard, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So coming out of the pit lane, we come into our first corner at the end of the straight. Is that anything to worry about, really, from your memory?
Not from memory. It was kind of like coming even out of the big long straight, hitting at 60 k's. The first kind of two corners were fine,
Yeah.
nice wide open, kind of. Only thing is though, I think it's a bit uphill, so visibility is going to be a bit challenging in terms
Yeah.
of seeing up around the corners for traffic.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see it just straight away. It's quite a flat corner. Nothing really worried about, but the difference, the dynamic might be with traffic through that corner might be interesting. So coming into corner 2, this one here. So I'll stop the video. What was your thoughts on it? Because I had a very strange experience with it.
I thought it was a lot tighter. Every lap it was tighter than what I remembered.
Hmm.
So, and there was kind of like a bit of interesting camber and rise to it.
Yeah. I was,
So,
yeah.
like, I always had the wrong gear coming out of it because you lose more speed in the corner than what you think.
Yeah.
So, I reckon the key is just going to be setting out wide and really nailing that turn-in point so that you just maintain speed through the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So, like Marcus just said, it's actually cambered. It's cambered nicely inwards. So you can almost sort of see that the grade is. So I think exiting the corner with as much speed as you can is crucial because straight into an uphill drag. Any issues with this one at all, mate?
No, not really. Like, again, just exit speed because that's going to like gain 10 seconds a lap if you've kind of got those extra few Ks and then can get in a higher gear to push up over this corner. Definitely
Essentially, you
make a
just want to
difference.
get over because coming into probably one of the hardest corners of the track is downhill. So getting that speed in, you could use that as time to recover. And it's going to be it might be another crash corner, but we'll wait and
Yeah.
see. So what's going on with this one, mate?
So this is turn 6, and I definitely reckon it's going to be a crash corner. It's just quite a tight right hairpin, and it's going to be interesting on the day in terms of how they kind of set track limits. So the official kind of painted track is quite tight and only like 6 meters wide, but there's all this asphalt out to the left, which you could possibly go all the way out there. And in the training days we've had, I think me and the other like reload racing, we're just going as wide as possible to kind of maintain as much speed.
Yep, 100%, mate. So it looks like what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to really work to flatten out this corner. So in this recording, I do try to make use of it, hop onto the paint, but it's quite tight. And if you're not nailing that, there is actually corrugated ripple strip on the other side. And I did see a poor trike in my first lap go over that, and they would have got one hell of a massage from it.
I think staying off those ripple strips going to be like really key to like because they're everywhere all over the track, and if you go too wide, you're going to definitely notice it, and it's going to wash out all your speed.
100%, mate. So we're talking again about exit speed. Now, this is probably one of the hardest sections of the track in terms of your exit speed because not only have you got to think about your race line, but you've also got to think about trikes. After this is quite a steep little uphill section, and I found myself really slipping in terms of my average speed. I couldn't get it up and over. So what was your experiences out of the corner, mate?
Well, firstly, so you've got turn 6, and you come into another right-hander, and that like your typical race line, you want to kind of hit the apex and then go out wide. But because of this next left-hander, which is after it, so this is the right-hander here, and you're coming up to this quite tight left-hander. So normally your typical race line, you'd want to go out wide. Because of this left-hander, you've kind of keep that tight so you can kind of really push over this corner. And then from about here down to this next left-hander again, you've got to be flat out sprinting. Because once you come around this corner, there's quite a steep uphill.
Yeah.
And if you kind of don't get over this,
yeah,
it like, yeah.
It's one of those things where you just got to get up and over because if you get caught out by that, although there is a downhill on the other side, you're going to lose a lot of time. And in this case, where the lap times are super long, you just really want to be saving your energy. So like you can see, I've taken my foot off the gas because I'm trying to breathe through my eyes, and it was just trying to work out what's happening because we're rolling up to another hard corner in this track. So rolling up to this, mate, what did you think of this corner? Like, how did you walk through this corner when you were going through this?
So I kind of like had a set turn-in point, and because it's quite a blind corner because you can't really see around it, and as you go around the corner, you can't see where the edge of the track is.
Yeah, 100%.
So kind of had a turn-in point and then just held a consistent steering until, because a lot of this you can't see,
Yeah.
and just kind of got to trust, your line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You got to really huck it tight. And if you can get that clear through the track, we're talking about exit speed, exit speed, exit speed, exit speed, because you're back into the straight of death where it's just 1 kilometer of uphill fun. So that's a lap. That's a long lap. This is probably the longest track I've ever done in a trike. What do you think the stint times are going to be for some of the top teams, Marcus? Like, is there going to be a really set sort of ideal way to run this, or what do
I
you reckon is
reckon
going to happen?
minimizing pit stops by doing kind of hour and a half stints, maybe.
Yeah,
So I know that personally, I think I'm looking at about an hour and a half to an hour to 40 for my stint. So I'm racing first. And so, yeah, long stints, I reckon, because it's such a long pit, as you said. I think we said it was 400 meters.
yeah,
So with the speed limits through there, you'll lose a lot of time. So limiting pits is going to be, I reckon, one of the biggest things as well.
yeah. It's going to be an interesting dynamic. So 400-meter pit, and they're going for a different type of pit. So this is something we haven't seen before. This whole track is just new, and that's almost why Pembroke have decided to drop the 2 hours, because they've got a lot of stuff they've got to work on out on their end. So run us through a little bit about the pits, Marcus, because it's a strange dynamic and the way they're transitioning. What's happening there?
So there's going to be a 25 kilometer an hour lane.
Yeah.
And so you can go all the way around like the pit in there, and then you can pull into the transition lane where you can go a lot slower, but then pull into your pit.
Yeah.
And in each, so at the box, there's the cars have like the pit box where normally it's one team. But in here, instead, we're splitting it to two sides of the pit. On each side, you have 6 teams.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a weird dynamic kind of being amongst other teams a lot more. So normally everybody's in their own little marquees, which are all walled off, and you don't speak to many people. But this is going to be a new dynamic, which I think is going to be a really positive thing for the sport.
Yeah. And trying to stay COVID safe as well. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to how they're going to run it, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it comes out. So we're looking forward to the 12-hour race, but this is obviously going to be a test of management, a test of team management, test of riders, and really a test of organization. So have you got any tips? Because you're very high up on the Strava leaderboard for the KOM. I think you might just be behind me. Is that true? I think that might be
Quite
true.
possibly. Might need to change that this upcoming race.
Oh, he's already throwing shade. But have you got any tips for riders heading out on their first try?
I reckon the biggest thing is just going to try and keep momentum over the track and really take sections to rest. So there's a lot of downhills where the start of the downhill, you kind of want to put in a few really hard pedal strokes, but then take the rest of the downhill as a rest, because quite often there's quite sharp corners followed by a steep uphill. So it's going to be just explosion after explosion after explosion on the pedals.
Yeah.
So I think managing fatigue is going to be also one of the biggest things.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think if I were to add anything to that, your exit speed is probably what's going to save you. If you're going to go from an hour to an hour and a half, being able to be clean and fast through the track means you're going to be able to last longer, and you're not going to have to be able to sprint out of every corner just because you've chosen the wrong line or something. So, but you've also got to be mindful of other teams, because you'd much rather hit the brakes than slam into someone and ride off 2 tries.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be very sad to do that. So I'd like to thank you for coming on the show, Marcus. Really appreciate it. And hopefully you try and beat me, but I don't know. I'm gonna get out my sword and give you the chop, mate. I'm gonna go hard. All good, guys. So thanks for joining in on episode 2 of Lap Chat. We will see you all at the Bend, round 2 of the AHPV Super Series. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.